everyone and welcome again to a very new tutorial. Up till now we were simply learning about the neural networks, its basics and other whatnot. But up till now we weren't handling the data part quite properly. I mean, we were simply loading the data set either from TensorFlow or simply taking some points. But in real world, the data is quite complicated and we need certain functions, certain APIs to make our life much more easier. So that's why much more focus on how to load the data efficiently for like either from CSV data, how to load image data, how to load text data and all other whatnot. And we will also understand the concept based on images or concepts for texts, tokenization, etc. and other whatnot. So TensorFlow makes it very easy thanks to the data API. So here we will learn mostly about TensorFlow data API. Now using this data API we can create dataset objects and tell it where to get the data from and how to transform that data. And TensorFlow actually makes this easier by taking care of all the implementation details such as multi-threading, queuing, batching and prefetching the data. So let's start with a very simple example. So first of all, let's import necessary libraries, import TensorFlow STF, and let's create a simple data set to understand how things actually work. First of all, create a simple data set. If I take, let's say, tf.range 20, so it's just like in Python we use the range function to get the number of elements from 0 to 20, and that's what this will also do. So after getting this, we can imagine that this is number of points, or this is actually our data set which contains 20 elements. We can create a dataset object by simply saying tf.data.dataset. Now there are many functions, but the most of the function that we will use is from tensor slices. Now inside this we actually give the object for which we want to create the data set. Here it's x, so x can be either something like this tf.tensor, or it can be simply an array with list of elements, and we can actually create the data set out of it. Now we can also see how this data set looks like for example for item in dataset dot take, or if I simply write this print item, now I can simply see this data set. Let's also print the data set object to see what that does. Now we can see that this is the data set object. So tensor slice data set with shape none and data type tf.int32, and we can see we simply printed the data set and it's simply printed like this. If we want to just print, let's say, the 5 elements, so you can simply say take 5 and it can also work like that. Now okay, there are also various different functions that we can actually do on the data set. For example, let's say I do something like this: data set is equals to data set dot let's say batch, I say 7, and if I print the data set, let's do something like this in data set print instance. So if we print instance, now it will create, so we have 20 elements, now it will create the batch of 7 elements. Now if you see at the last we had just 6 elements because only 6 elements were remaining. So you can also do something like drop underscore remainder equals true, so it will drop all the elements for which the batch size is not actually 7. So simply by calling batch function we can actually create the batch. Now you can see, we can see that it created just 2 batch because the third batch was not having exact 7 elements, so it actually dropped it. I can also do something, let's say repeat, and if I let's say did 5, so what it will do, so it will take the data set, let's say I just write till 5 so that we can understand much more better. Yeah, and I repeated it 5 times, so it will simply take the data set X and it will repeat it 5 times, so it will simply become something like this. So X is equals to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then again 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then again 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, dot 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 till 5 times, and then after repeating the data set 5 times we batch it. So if you do this, let's see what do we get. Well, you can see that 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 0. Yeah. So let's also see several different other functions that we can do. Okay, so let's see. You can also do something like this. Let's first of all comment this line. Let's imagine that we had, okay, so this is the data set and I want to do some transformation on this data set. Let's say on every element I want to multiply every element with 10, let's say. Yeah, so I can simply do data set is equals to data set dot lambda, so sorry, not lambda, map. Yeah, so map lambda x, and I can do simply x into, or let's say x into 10. Either you can also do something like that. Let's say you create a function, yeah, so def manipulate, and you give some item, let's say x, and you want to do several magic inside this. Let's say you first of all take temp is equals to x into 2, and then temp is equals to temp plus 10, and then all the operation that you want to do, you can actually do this, and simply you can at the end you can return the final value. And so this is like doing a transformation on x. So you can simply write then x, and then you can simply write manipulate x. That will also work. Yeah, and then if I print the data set, let's see what we get. So it will take the x, multiply, so 0 multiplied by 2 would be 0, and 10 plus 10, 0 plus 10 is 10. So the first element became 10, and then 12, then 14, then 16, then 18. Yeah, so you can actually do all the operations on it as well. There is also, I mean, okay, let's make this 10. Yes, and suppose map is one function. There are also several other functions like filter, which I like the most. Why? Because it will allow you to filter the elements. How does it do it? Let's so dataset.filter, and you take lambda x. Now it's the same. Either you can create another function and do the operation. What it does is that for every element x, you need to return either true or false, and for all the elements that it returns true, only those elements would be stored in the dataset, rest other elements would be removed. Let's say I want only the even numbers, yeah, so I can do either x modulus 2 should basically be equal to 0. That means just so for example here it's 10, so 0 modulus 2 would be 0, so 0 would be included, 1 will be excluded, 2 would be included, 3 would be excluded, 4 would be included, and so on. Yeah, so it's sort of an efficient filter function. Yeah, so if we print it, we get 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, and other whatnot. Yeah, so if you think about it, there are many functions. I've just shown you a couple of simple functions so that to get our journey started. Now let's do something. So if I take, let's say, data set is equals to, let's repeat the data set right now, to make it bit larger. Suppose I repeat 10 times. Yeah, now suppose I want to shuffle the data set, right? So you can also simply write data set is equals to data set dot shuffle, and we have to give the buffer size. Let me first of all do it, and I'll explain what buffer size is. Let's say I give buffer size as 10 or something like that. You can also provide seed and other whatnot, and after shuffling you can then, I want to batch the data set, and I want to create the batch size of just 2 elements, let's say. Let me make it 5, yeah. And then I can simply do, for instance, in data set and print instance, yeah. Now what is, first of all, let's talk about the shuffle part. What is shuffle? Well, shuffle is quite simple. As the names represent, it simply shuffles the data set. Now what is this buffer size? You can imagine that, okay, I have, let's say, I have 10 elements and then I repeated it 10 times, right? So I have some list of elements, let's say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me just take the first 7, 8, 9 and 10. Now how does the shuffle works? Let's say I make a shuffle buffer size of 5. So it will first of all take the elements from the data set. It will create a buffer, or you can imagine it will simply create a storage of 5 elements. It will take the first 5 elements and store in that storage, and then just shuffle these 5 elements. Now this might become, let's say, 2, 1, 3, 0, 4, and then that will be our first elements, 2, 1, 3, 0, 4, and then again it will take other 5 elements, again store it in the storage, and then shuffle it and then give to the data set, and then again it will take the the next 5 elements, shuffle it and then give it to the data set. Now I guess you understand what I'm doing here. So that's how actually the shuffle part works. So it will simply take the n number of elements. Here buffer size is n number of elements, shuffle it up and then give to the data set. Now after I shuffle it, and then I create the batch out of it then, right? So after shuffling it, I create the batch and then I return the instance. So if I simply run the code, so now you can see that the elements are all shuffled. So if we ever want to shuffle our data set, then we will simply use the shuffle element. Now we can also do prefetch. What is prefetch? Well, in simple terms, prefetch is, as the name signifies, okay, if we are actually calling the data set, it will always try to fetch n number of elements, fetch n number of batch in advance. Suppose if I do prefetch as 1, what does it mean? It means that while the processor is processing a batch, it will prefetch the next batch so that this delay is removed. So it is so that's why we actually use prefetch. We can also use cache, which we will see in a bit later, to store the elements as well as in the cache. If you know something about the memories, there is also a cache memory which is stored in the processor, which stores the most likely information. So we can also use cache to actually store the data set in the cache as well, to make it much more faster. So this is actually how the TensorFlow dataset works, and there are plenty of different other operations that we can do, but I've just give you a small idea of actually how the dataset sort of works. So let's first of all again solve the same. Import TensorFlow STF, and okay, so if name, so this is here, this is where our execution will start. So I take x underscore train, I take y underscore train, and then I take x underscore test, I take y underscore test. So tf.keras, if you remember, how do we load the data set? So it's data sets dot fashion underscore mnist dot load underscore data. Damn, it's big. Yeah, so tf.keras dot data sets dot fashion underscore mnist dot load underscore data. Okay, so let's first of all print something to see if we got that right. Okay, so let's print it. So it's 60,000 elements and every element is of 28 by 28. So you can simply imagine it as an array with 60,000 elements, and every element is of dimension 28 by 28. Yeah. So we can now create the data set out of it. So we can simply write data set tf.data.dataset.from tensor slices, and you simply provide it x_train. Yeah, and if we print the dataset, how does it look like? Let's see. For instance, in dataset.take, I just want to take the first element, just one element, and then simply print the shape of that instance. So it's just 28 by 28, and that's good, right? Okay, why don't we create a dataset like this, comma y_train? I mean, it looks a bit weird. So it's like I'm taking two array and putting it together. In order to do that, first of all, you need to ensure that this number of elements in x_train is equal to the number of elements in y_train, and then it will simply take the first element of x_train and first element of y_train and make it as one instance of the dataset. Similarly, then it takes the second element of x_train, second element of y_train, make it the second instance of the dataset, and so on. So now I can do something like this. So print 0. So this would be the element from x_train, and then I can also do print, let's say, instance of 1. I just want to print the first instance. So this will come from y_train. Now it says that okay, the first element is 28 by 28, and this image is nothing but the y label 9. Now if you see that for every element this data set will return an instance in which the first instance is that image, and the second instance is that label, corresponding label. Now after getting this, we can simply apply the operations. So okay, here we have x_train and y_train. We can also do something like this. I want to know the cardinality. So tf.data.datasets.cardinality, and if I dataset, and let's print the cardinality. To understand what exactly this is, we need to print it. So it will simply take the data set and then simply produce the cardinality. What is cardinality? Cardinality simply means the number of elements in the data set. Now suppose you want to create test data set or validation data set. Right now we already have a test data set, but let's assume that right now we don't have any test data set, and I want to create another test data set, or you can also imagine as the validation data set. So first of all, I need to know what is the training size of my data. So the training size, we can simply take the 80% of what the current cardinality is. That means I will take just the first 80 elements of the training part, and the rest 20% would be my validation. Then I will take the dataset and I will shuffle the dataset first. So I give the shuffle and I give the buffer size as, let's say, 100. So we take the dataset and we shuffle the dataset with a buffer size of 10, and then I can create a new training set. Now remember that dataset is actually shuffled. So I will simply take dataset.take, just take the first training size number of elements from the dataset, and let's say the validation dataset.skip, just skip the first train size number of elements, and the remaining elements just take it. Now if you see, this is another way of splitting the data set, right? And then you can also see, let's print the tf.data.dataset.cardinality, and let's take the training part. Similarly, let's take the validation part and see how does it looks like. Okay, data set. What I did it here, because this will in order to this will create a tensor, so I need to multiply it with 0.8. I need to convert into a numpy value and then I can do other stuff. Now you can see here that my training set contains 48,000 elements, my validation set contains 12,000 elements. This is exactly like 80% of what it is and the remaining 20%. Yeah. So after getting the training and validation, you can simply then do the rest of the stuff. So training is equals to train dot cache. That means I will first of all also cache some of the elements in my processor cache for faster operation. You can again do shuffle, but I think we don't have to do it because we already did it here. And then I can simply create a batch. Let's say I want to create batch size of 32. That means I just want 32 number of elements in one batch. Now there is one thing I added here, num parallel calls. What is num parallel calls? So it is simply you can imagine as sort of the parallel operations. So it represents the number of batches to compute asynchronously in parallel. So if that basically means that if you don't provide this element, these batches would be created sequentially one by one. So I take first 32 elements, I create a batch. I take second 32 elements, I create a batch sequentially. But if you provide this operation num parallel calls, it will create the number of batches in parallel asynchronously. And that is fine in this operation. Why? Because batching simply means taking the number of elements. Every element is mutually exclusive with each other, so there is no any problem here. So after creating the batch, and then I can prefetch the number of elements. How many number of elements I can prefetch? You can also give this as tf.data.autotune. Yeah? So as you can see, if the value tf.data autotune is used, then the buffer size is dynamically tuned. So same like here, and then I can also do this for the validation part, validation.cache, and now you can simply see for instance in train, I can simply write print instance 0.shape and print instance of 1.shape. And when I do that, it's okay, I took every element, but you can see that it creates a batch size of 32, 28, 28, and that same the number of labels are also 32. So that's how you actually do it. And then after that the process is same. So you create the model and then you write model.fit, and then you provide the data set in there like train, and then rest of the other operation. But we will also solve different problems, complicated problems, but from now on we will always use TensorFlow datasets because it makes our lives much more easier. So I guess that's it for today. Today it was a small introduction on TensorFlow datasets. We saw how to create TensorFlow datasets using tensors, so using lists, and then we also showed how to do efficient operation for batch, shuffling, cache, how to pre-process the data sets and other whatnot. And then we also solved this problem on by using a simple fashion MNIST. Now in the next lecture we will talk about how to do this for images. We'll understand the concepts involved in images, the transformation that we need to do on the images, and then in the next lecture we will study about the textual data, how to process the sequence of sequence of text, how to create tokens, what are tokens, and other stuff. Okay, so see you in the next lecture. Radhe Radhe.